Bid like a bee, Danny Boy here, and welcome back to another episode of Voxel Tycoon. I don't know if it's going to be an episode. It's kind of like my thoughts on the game, etc. It's a really good game. I will say that I have fairly enjoyed playing it. I've had my little ups and downs, but yeah. The first of all, I want to apologise. I was away for about a week. I got a phone call from a company, or the company I used to work for. Another company was needing help with something, so I was sent away for a week on a boat while it was doing some sea trials with some gear on board that needed to be tested and examined, and they were sort of planning out how their job was going to go on the ship, etc., how things would work. So that ate up about a week, but it was a nice little opportunity to get away from the house, away from the computer. It was very sudden, but it was something that I kind of needed, a little bit of extra cash flow coming in. So that keeps the wolves at bay for a while. But whilst I was away, I did the previous episode, the wood drought episode, which entailed this. The fact that this industry here, or the wood logging camp, etc., died. It ran out of absolutely everything. There is no wood here. Also, over here, there is no coal here. Coal is completely dead. Now we are supplementing these with extra coal trains from other places, etc. And there is this over here. So there's an iron ore mine over here. Yeah, this is almost, very almost, completely dead as well. So it led me to a few things. Can a situation like this be saved? So whilst I was away, I was sort of thinking about it. I was actually going to try and port the save game, etc., over to the laptop and mess about with it there. But I ended up being really busy, so I would not have had the time to do that, even if I did. So, can this be saved? And the definitive answer is yes, absolutely. But it comes with a sacrifice. Now, I like to play in mind with the, we'll switch everything back on here, the fact that trying to feed everything. So, there's coal there, we now can't do that. It looks like the logs are going down as well. Coal is going to go down, any iron ore, copper, basically base materials. These are going to suffer a lot. And the reason why is because you need these things to make other things. Now I could go along and delete all the log trucks, trains, etc. that are just simply delivering logs. And with these other log trains that are coming in, or timber trains, we probably could keep the wood beams and the wood planks alive. We probably could keep them afloat for quite some time. But there's a problem. So, what I did not realise, because I was trying to play the fact that you cannot save every sort of production, you can't win them all, sort of thing. So I sort of realised that you have to let these lower production or commercial facilities, like this power plant or heating plant, you have to let them die. That is a thing that you are going to have to do. Now, I've got 71 million. I do not know how big the map is. I probably could go around and unlock absolutely everything. There's probably another region past Wellesley here. There's probably another one past Kingman, and so forth. But I do not know how big the map actually is. But once towns are a bit more developed, you have to let the smaller industries, the ones that just take the raw materials, you have to let them go, which was something that I didn't do because I wanted to sort of provide materials for everything. But that is simply just, you're not going to be able to do that. Now, it's another thing why I love early access games, because if I'd been doing the playthrough of the full game and not realised that that was a thing, I would have been super sad. Because I would have got so far, it would have all ended up in disaster. like this area here, and it just would have went into free fall. If I had unlocked more regions, that has a knock-on effect because you're spending time trying to fix other things fall by the wayside, you miss things. That's why this is extremely handy, but it's a bit, I'm going to say, bugged for the moment because it just shows you absolutely everything on the planet. Some things are not relevant, some things are, but I don't look at it all the time, maybe as I should. So yeah, raw materials, if you're taking iron ore and coal and simply just delivering it, then you are getting money for it, but it is cheap, 400 quid minus 12. So that's actually less than 400 quid. This is 180 minus 8. So you don't get much money for these. But at the start of a game, when a city is smaller, you are going to have to supply them. So they need commercial buildings to be supplied with the materials that they need in order for the city to grow. Excuse me, unless you go with the passenger route, which again is another option. Unfortunately, things like a bus station near a train station will not transfer passengers across from one to the other. So in the very first iteration of my playthrough of this, I had buses going past around the city and then past the train station, but the passengers don't actually jump off the bus to get to a train. That's only the area of effect. Now, there's quite a lot of people here, but there are 4 trains running and most of them have just picked up, so there's not anybody waiting there. But the range of this is quite good. It takes in a lot to account. So you can build the city that way. It will be incredibly slow. You will possibly be bored out of your mind waiting for that to happen. So yeah, you need to provide raw materials, especially the ores, etc., at the beginning. Once you sort of get a newer industry, like for example, if we were supplying wood out here, and then suddenly a planks industry or a wood beams industry appeared, then you should straight away go on to providing that, because let's check the price of wood. It's 370 minus 20. This is 565 minus 4. So even though there's the ability to earn the 370 and the 565, which will give you more money because you're supplying to both, you need to sort of swap onto these and let this die, the logs, because very quickly you end up with a situation like this where you're just pulling far too many goods from one resource, and eventually it goes, well, it dries out. The forest is gone. We've gone full on Amazon rainforest and just wiped an entire area of forest. Same with coal. Now obviously we'll go back to the forest, because nowadays you have tree farms. Forestation normally means the cutting down of trees and then they replant trees. So like tree husbandry and things like tree farming, to replace the trees that they've sort of cut down, and then that will give you a never-ending supply of wood, because you cut trees down, you plant them again. There is obviously a long time waiting for trees to grow. They do not grow overnight. So you could do that, and it would be interesting if maybe you could instead of have a logging camp, right? Maybe have like 2 buildings or something, or 3 buildings in the middle of the section that just constantly planted trees, which would have been cool. Maybe that's something that's coming later on. However, when it comes to things like ore, iron ore, coal mines, etc., so the coal is ran out here. Now, when a coal seam or iron ore quarry or mine, or stone quarry, sorry, or copper mine, once that seam dries up, or once it gets to the point where it's financially not viable to go and extract that ore, because it's maybe too far down, you need more workforce, you need better equipment, it becomes non-cost effective, the mine shuts down. And you can't plant coal, you can't regrow it. You could maybe make charcoal from burning wood, But again, that's going to absolutely destroy your wood supplies, which you kind of need to make other things. Now it's the same with iron ore, stone, sand. Yep, you can absolutely run out of sand if you were to start digging. If you were to start extracting sand for the desert and you did that for 1,000,000 years, eventually you would run out of sand. You would hit bedrock, all the sand would be gone, no sand. So that is how mining or felling trees, etc., or digging or whatever, extraction of raw resources works. Eventually they run out, and 9 times out of 10 you can't replace them. So you need to focus on more expensive stuff. Sending coal and iron ore just to ironworks and steelworks or glassworks, etc., because those are going to make you more money and they are going to let you progress further in the game. Now if you realize that quick enough, you can maybe prolong these sort of coal mines and forests, but eventually they will run out. The cities grow incredibly fast. If your infrastructure is not perfect, like I have, this steel beam, steel bars, all this is simply being provided by these trains and these trucks that come along. Now I've got other coal coming in here, which sort of works to a degree, but that's not really fixing the solution, because coal is now coming from here. It's coming from all the way over here, and very quickly, if you're extracting large amounts of coal and sending it away for something else, that is going to run out too, which leads me to one of my problems with this game, is that I do not know how it's going to work. You maybe might sacrifice things like anything that uses a coal product or iron ore product or a copper product or a sand or stone product, which is basically everything in the game. All this is made by something. You maybe have to limit it, like maybe make Gordon, this city here, maybe just make it wood products, planks, sort of log beams or wooden beams or furniture, and then just have that be that. Maybe have another sort of area be like glass products, maybe have something be sort of iron products, the iron plates, the bolts, etc. Maybe just have something that's steel oriented products or copper. So I don't know how you're supposed to provide for all these. Now obviously I mentioned before that there are lots of other regions. I do not know how far the map lets us go. I mean, there's render distance there, but I don't know what is beyond this region. I don't know how much a large map actually has. This is like the highest size map that you get. Now I could just continue. We'll do a little experiment here. So we'll start here. Right, we'll start here. So we'll buy this, right? So unlock for 6 million. So I can unlock a few of these. And I just want to see, so this is Midwest City. I want to see how far we can go before the map runs out, because even though this city requires iron ore and its resources are copper, if you're trying to feed everything, you're gonna run out of stuff really quick. And I'm interested to know how the game developers are really going to combat that, because that is going to be a real problem for playability. If all your base resources dry up, and then you now are missing huge links in production trains, because coal and iron ore, example, on the screen here, are used to make iron. Iron and coal are used to make steel, etc. Coal and copper are used to make copper bars, copper wire, electronics. The list goes on, and you are going to need tons of it to keep you going. If you run out of coal or iron ore, then you are going to be in a world of hurt, because those production chains are going to cease to exist, because you won't be able to continue producing because you don't have the raw resources. Now they obviously are implementing other industries. I've obviously seen in trailers and stuff. They've got like tank wagons. There's the specific shot in the trailer where the train with the tank wagons crashes into another train and it explodes and it looks very cool. So this one has sand. I mean, this might go on for absolutely ever. I do not know. But I've actually burnt through a crap ton of cash here. 20 million. So I'm just trying to find out where the edge of the map is. I mean, this could go on forever. But then it's just a vicious cycle of rebuilding the exact same configurations you might have for extracting like sand over here, and then trying to transport it to places that make glass, etc. Lowell, so this is Lowell region, and it just keeps going. See okay, right, so here you go. I did not notice this, yeah, 900, so as you go further out into a region, so these all want TVs and stuff. That's cool. Let's unlock for 27 million, so that is expensive. Right, let's zoom in. Yeah, so there is probably more out there. But I think the way they're combating it is by giving resources a hell of a lot more. So there's 1.6 million here rather than the sort of 200, 300,000 you get at the beginning. But just say we ran out of copper in our previous region, we had to take copper from here all the way down, so that's going to take a long time. And then you're going to get back over here to where this copper ore is. You might be making copper bars here, wire. By this point you would have already stopped copper bar production, or just had copper bar production but used it to refine it to wires or other things that require copper. So yeah, bringing that all the way down here is going to be a nightmare. Plus, that is probably not the only place you're going to have set up on the map that needs copper. You're going to have to feed multiple areas out into your first starting centre towns just to sort of keep them afloat. Now, I do not know if towns, cities will degrade and or get smaller as sort of commercial sites sort of collapse and go under. But I do believe that is the only way to play it. Is you need to be very careful. So you need to keep a constant eye on resource management, etc. Because all this could have been saved at some point. Now it's gonna go really bad. Now I could start again, but I don't want to do that because I'm starting the new Transport Fever 2 season very soon. I'm setting up a few things. There's a lot of stuff to set up, and I want to sort of play this game up until a point. I would have liked to have unlocked more vehicles, etc. But it is in early access. There's still a lot of this game to explore, and I don't really want to explore everything right at the beginning. Because when the game actually releases with everything, I want to be able to do a full playthrough and see what works and see if what I'm actually talking about today actually comes to fruition. I believe it will be. So it was entirely my bad. If I had realised how valuable this coal seam was, this forest was, I would not have destroyed it as quickly. Or I might have destroyed it quickly, but I would at least have had production for sort of higher tier sort of goods that come from that resource chain. I would have had better infrastructure maybe put in place for possibly just keeping this afloat a bit longer from other forests, other coal mines, other iron ore deposits, which I did start to try and do. I started to try and get more wood into here to supplement this because I knew this was going to die. I just didn't realise that what I've built here is woefully inadequate. And what I really should have done is this log train that is going to Gordon should have been reassigned to taking more logs in here to feed this area instead of actually sending them out. And the log trucks here that we're sending out, just the basic raw logs, I should have kicked that, I should have nipped that in the bud as well. I should not have let that continue. I should have just have left wood for the sole production of higher end tier goods. Now if I had gotten to the point where I could have made furniture, i.e. where is it? There's one floating about here somewhere because it's going to go bankrupt. I remember seeing it. Is it over here? Yeah, like this radio needs wood, but you need... we're getting a save, that's fine. Because this is like the last episode, I'm not going to delete everything. Although that thought of deleting absolutely everything on the map did actually cross my mind. Yeah, so we need this. So it's a wood frame. It probably takes planks, etc. to make. This is an advanced wood frame, which also will probably take planks. So you'd have to, once those are available to you, deliver them and kill planks delivery, because you now then need planks. Again, if you are producing planks and the advanced wood frames, etc., you're going to run out of wood really fast because you're doubling the need for that resource. Even though one bit of wood can give you 2 planks, it's still going to be bad. You're still going to run out of wood a lot, because 1 plank is going to get delivered, so that is gone, even though you've made money from it, and the other plank is going towards a wood frame. Now I don't know how much a wood frame costs to make, because if we go to our research, it was something I neglected. There we go. We were doing woodworking, but I didn't get enough wood. There are R&D trucks in here waiting to pick up wood planks. They just don't get them. I mean, we could speed this up, see what happens. So we are at least still getting some planks. It's not a lot, not by any means. But yeah, see, this is totally fine. This is still full. And the only reason this is still full is because all those trucks are stuck in here. They can't move. They can't go anywhere. Hopefully you get 11. No, because some of it is going to this train. So that's the problem. We're pulling way too many things out in different directions, and it's bad. It is really bad. It'll take an age to fill this up. We need trains coming in here constantly. They need to be a hell of a lot longer. There we go. So that just took 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 160 wood logs away. Now if I got rid of that train alone, I probably could keep this afloat. So that's what you need to do. And the only problem is, we're getting the wood from over here, if I can remember where we're getting the wood from. Right, so there's the wood train. Yeah, so it's coming over from over here, and it is not going to take long at all to annihilate that 331k. When you do, you're going to have to go further and further away to try and find wood. So you need to ration it as best as possible. So to answer the previous question, can you fix this? Yes, I could fix it. Many bad things would happen. As I said, I had a brief notion of just evaporating everything from the map and deleting every single vehicle. I'm not going to do that though. I am going to wait for the full release of the game, which I am looking forward to. I was looking forward to Voxel Tycoon for some time. Sorry, not times. That's stupid. But yeah, it's a great little game. It gives me the good old Transport Tycoon nostalgia vibes. It's got the sort of Minecraft block element in there as well, which has its drawbacks, I will admit. Obviously I've been lavished with the freedom of building curve track and stuff in Transport Fever 2, and this everything is at sort of 45 or 90 degree angles, and it's something that took me a while to get used to. and my severe lack of planning for the future, i.e. just sort of throwing stuff in here, did work to a certain degree. But now that I know that it's something that I absolutely have to do in the future, will be much better. I now have a sort of more efficient way of getting things. Possible, like, for example, this looks like overkill, but it works. Like, it really works. Now, once you figure out the timings and etc., you can nail this down to fine art, but I've left room for tons of truck routes. I can expand over this way because I've got that there. I can expand out this way and maybe do steel beams, etc. So, yeah, having these large things look kind of stupid, but they are going to help in the long run. I've no doubt that someone out there will have like an optimum build, where they'll place a photo here. If you build it like this will give you X amount of iron bars using X amount of resources over a certain time, and here's how you should set up distribution. That sort of knocks the fun out of learning and doing it for yourself. But I now know that things like this are going to be needed. Things like this was heavily focused on the wood beams, because they were so slow to produce. And then I totally neglected planks, and now planks is a problem. But yeah, so eliminating a few things, or eliminating quite a lot of things, reworking this whole area would probably keep at least these sawmills afloat. Maybe deleting all this, moving the train station over here. I could put in a larger train station, longer, and we could probably get that to work. So yeah, I'm sort of happy with how far I've got. Obviously, with the power of hindsight, a thing that everyone wishes they had. If everyone could tell the future, there would be no future. So yeah, it gives you a chance to. It gave me a chance, at least, to figure out on my own, and I hope that maybe someone can actually watch this and take away from the harsh lesson that I learned. Because I knew that this coal, that iron ore over at Jersey and this, I knew this was going to run out. I did not think it would have the catastrophic effect that it did, even though I'm not a complete idiot and I should have. I was just sort of ignoring it. I should have jumped on it straight away. This, supplementing logs from somewhere else, was just implemented way too late. The countermeasures I put in were woefully inadequate, and now that I know that this is a thing that can happen and it can be very bad, I need to fix that. So for future endeavours, which I absolutely will do, and I am looking forward to the full release of this game. As I said, not many bugs. There were phantom bugs that turned out to be my stupidity, like building this. If anyone remembers this episode, when I was trying to build the tunnel down here and it wouldn't work, and I was angry, and I was like, why have you forsaken me, game? But it's because there was a tunnel here. So I think they should implement something like Transport Fever, where you select roads and it maybe highlights things that are in tunnels, so you can actually see them. Especially when building things like train tracks. Maybe you want to build a road tunnel, but you've already got a tunnel under here for a train. Then you can't really do that, can you? So, unless you're just happy, because it's all about view distance as well. If you're looking at it here, and you start building, and then you get across, and then it's like, oh, why is this not working? And it's like, because there's a tunnel there. I see. I figured that out the hard way. And I've learned many lessons, but I should be well equipped for like future endeavours. I now know sort of how everything works. I actually do like the research and development. I think it's great. That means that you can basically have vehicles, trains, buses, etc. pop out when you want them. So you're not waiting for a sort of time or date. When you are ready to do the research and development and you have enough money to buy those newer upgraded vehicles, et voila, you build them. You do the research, you can buy them. And I think that's great. I think it's an extremely nice little touch because it gives the player control over when these vehicles sort of spawn. So they're not just spawning at a certain date and then the sort of date comes where the vehicle expires and you can't use it again. As far as I know, it looks like vehicles stay in the garage forevermore. So you could have a mix of old and new trucks. The only downside of that is when you maybe don't really have that much money to begin with, you're desperately trying to make money. Lots of raw resource in production chains or commercial buildings at the start will disappear and you'll get frustrated. I firmly believe now, knowing what I know, because right at the very start of this, I built a train. Now I built a train that took logs to here, and another train that took coal here. And that's all I built. I didn't buy any road vehicles or build any roads. And it worked for about 15 seconds, 20 seconds, and I was like, yay. And this train made a couple of deliveries, and then I got this, the flashing, we are overwhelmed with goods and will no longer pay you for goods until we sold off the previous amount of goods, which takes till the end of the month. So that was bad. So you then got a train sitting there that's costing you money, it's not moving, it's waiting to unload. If you provide too much of this, sometimes the price goes down, the price can go up or down. There is an economy in this game that does that. Same with the coal. So I spent a fortune on building train track and stations and buying large trains, and they did not get me the turnover that I needed. I then realised that once I saved up some money and built out some truck routes, that I could sort of keep all the raw resource commercial buildings afloat just by using one or two trucks. As long as you get that away from sort of awful to bad, it will sort of live. If you can get it up to, what's the middle one again? It's like okay or something. Good. Average. No, once you get it up to average, it will sort of void its bankruptcy and keep going. So yeah, knowing that at the start of a new game, I would absolutely 100% just use trucks. Yes, I know trucks can be boring, etc. Yes, I know, because I did it, that you can use trucks at the start. You can make enough money and enough goods to do the research, which means that you can forego sort of the early steam trains. You don't even have to use them, which is kind of a shame. I like to use every vehicle. Trains are better, but as they get faster and longer, building them in cramped spaces like this doesn't really make sense unless it's a passenger train. Now, speaking of passenger trains, I always wanted this Jersey City terminal to continue out and go out this way, but the city has enveloped a great many things. Now, one thing there is not implemented in the game is crossing of road and rail. So going like this, yeah, you can't build here because there's a road in the way. Now that's something I think is weird, and I think it's maybe been taken out due to the fact that there is a collision system like in Transport Tycoon of old. So a truck will get stopped on a crossway, a train will come along and absolutely annihilate it. Now, I don't know if they're going to add that. Maybe they're going to add it in later. I've not checked the roadmap in, months now, but it's something that you absolutely need, because it's very difficult to build tunnels and bridges without deleting a great many buildings in the population away. So the cities expand fast. Almost too fast. Almost Transport Fever 2 too fast. Things start to get engulfed, you get overwhelmed quickly, and then you don't have the money. I had the money there because I had 70 something odd million. I could have deleted everything in this entire area and then kept the train going out. But I didn't want to do that because it sort of splits the area into two places. I also have trucks that need to get around there. I'd have to take them over here and then build a tunnel down here. Yeah, I'd love to see rail crossings. Yes, it could obviously be dangerous because you could derail a train if it hits a truck. The truck will absolutely be mangled. But yeah, it's something I'd like to see, because another thing, tunnels and bridges in every single game on planet Earth, every single game that requires you to build a tunnel or bridge, Transport Tycoon, Transport Fever, Workers and Resources, Soviet Republic, any one of those games that requires you to build a tunnel and or bridge is very expensive. And it's something the player does not want to waste their money on right at the very start when their options are limited. Obviously it's a necessity if it's something they absolutely need to complete a chain and they need to complete that chain to make their money. But yeah, a simple crossing across a railway could save so much money. Obviously there's that added fact that yes, you could save money in the short term, but if a train has an accident with a truck, it's going to cost you more money in the long term. Maybe it's something they're implementing now, I don't know, but it seems strange that it wasn't, because one of the weirdest things in Transport Tycoon was getting the little news articles popping up, and it was like truck driver dies in fireball train smash, and it was like, what the hell? And then you realise that your one of your trucks got stopped in a crossing, and it just did that thing where it went back and forth until a train hit it, and then that was it, dead. It was a great way of also eliminating AI opponent vehicles, was to trap them in in railroad crossings where you had trains passing through, and then the vehicle would get hit, it would explode, your train would normally be okay, and then that AI company sort of lost its vehicle and they had to fork out and pay for another one. And it was good. It was a quick way of annihilating or blocking roads or something. I don't know if AI competitors is something they're going to put in here. Given the way that the resources are distributed around the map and how you sort of need to work them, etc., I don't think that would be an entirely good idea, because it would be a severe frustration if you wanted gravel, unlocked a region that said it had stone, only to find out that some AI comes and buys it, and then you've just wasted 8, 10, 11, 12 million unlocking that region. You do not then have the money to unlock another region to go and try and find it. And I've been on quite a few maps now, and I have figured out that I thought there was at least one stone, sand, copper, iron ore, coal, wood. I thought there was one of each around the map, but I did get one in the map where I needed sand. Now sand was in a region like this, so Ifola, or where we'll just call it nothing. We'll call it this region, right? How would you pronounce that? Ufella? Ufella, because like Europe, EU, fella. Okay, right. So Ufella here had sand, and I was like, that's great. And then it's like, oh, but I can unlock this region, but I can't build a road around here because I've not unlocked this region, and or a road around here because I've not unlocked that region. So that was a major bummer. And so many sand commercial buildings sort of came and went. I couldn't make glass, etc. This was in a private playthrough that I was sort of doing ages ago before I even started recording. So yeah, it's kind of weird. You need to be weary of that. Always have a look around your map first to see what is going on. If you can get a town or city that accepts coal or iron, and there's like a coal or iron right here, great. By all means, that's going to be great. That's an instant income. That's instant money supply. It's a short distance. Just be wary that because it's a short distance, how many trucks you put on, because this will reach excellent, and then obviously trucks will be sitting waiting. You won't make any money off them. Maybe try and shift those spare trucks that are waiting onto different lines instead of buying entirely new trucks, because those cost a lot of money. I think I've covered just about everything. This is a great game. Obviously the answer to the question was, can this be fixed? These dead resources. The answer is yes. If you plan them out correctly, you can keep them afloat. Obviously dodge the selling of the raw resource. Get out of that as fast as you can, because that is probably the quickest way to expend a resource, is just to go and try and sell it for not that much profit. Try and maybe keep the higher end or higher tier sort of components for sale, production of them, and sell them, because you get more money, and that resource stockpile, that raw resource stockpile, will last a hell of a lot longer. And then you're going to have to make or come to a time where these industries that you've been supplying are going to have to go. You're going to have to let them fade away. You're going to have to let them die, and then move on to sort of bigger and brighter things. You will not be able to supply every single thing on a map. I mean, there's a lot of commercial buildings here to keep your eye on, but once you start expanding, where did I buy that region? Yeah, once you start expanding and going away and going away and going away and going away, it's going to be bad. You're not going to be able to keep doing everything. You might be setting up an area here, making TVs, because everyone wants a TV in Coffeyville and Norwich. Norwich is in England. I suppose there's a Norwich in Fairbanks. Once you start setting up this area, you are going to miss a lot of stuff that's happening way back where you first started. I would imagine that entire production chains are going to collapse and fall without you even noticing that is a thing that's happened. So yeah, it's a great game. I thoroughly enjoyed playing it. I suspect I will thoroughly enjoy playing it when the full release comes out. I don't know when that is going to be. Obviously, pandemic and things. Production is slower for a great many things. But what they've done so far, I think, is great. Obviously, I've got a few concerns. But apart from that, the gameplay is fine. There's not many bugs. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. Knowing what I know in the future, hopefully things should be better for when I come to actually play the game. I might be slightly overwhelmed because I think they are going to add the other industries, the oil industry, possibly food. I don't know what else is coming exactly, but I'll be interested to see how they sort of tackle the sort of issues I've explained in this. Maybe they're not issues. Maybe that is the way that the game is designed to be played. And for things like coal running out, that's what happens in the real world. Coal mines, iron ore mines, quarries, they get abandoned a lot. There's an abandoned quarry literally a mile and a half from where I stay. Up until about 4 years ago, it was in full production, and now it's just a hole in the ground. It's like a big puddle. So yeah, things like that die. You have to let these commercial buildings die in order to produce the more futuristic things or more expensive things. Now that I know that, I should be well equipped for when the game fully releases. So yeah, Voxel Tycoon. If you are a fan of classic Transport Tycoon of old, maybe Transport Fever 2 style gameplay with sort of Voxel graphics, which I love. I love games like this. I loved Rise of Industry, and everyone was like, "Oh, but the graphics are like cartoony and kiddie," and I was like, "Yeah, but it's a very complex micromanagement transport industry management system. It's great. So is this." So yeah, by all means, there is quite a lot to do here if you want to get it now. It is on Steam, and there's many hours of gameplay. There's things I haven't even touched on yet, like electronics. I've not even gotten near setting foot in that industry chain. So there is quite a lot you can do here, and it will give you a chance to learn some of the sort of easier lessons you can learn, some of the harsher ones like I learned, where raw resources start to fall by the wayside. So absolutely, if you like the look of this and you like this type of game, getting it now is not an issue. There's a lot you can do, and there's probably a lot more that's coming when the full release comes out, so you can absolutely just wait till that happens. We'll revisit this again once the full release comes out. But yeah, it's been fun. This will be the last episode of Voxel Tycoon until the full release comes out. It's a great game. Had a lot of fun. Hope you guys had fun watching it. Let me know your comments and thoughts. I know other people in the comments have played this game. Some of them gave me some really good tips on what to sort of do and etc. The best tip was the one where, I can't remember who it was, sent a comment saying that bus passengers don't transfer at a train station. That was something that was not implemented yet, and I was like, okay, thank you. That's something I did not know, and it would save me a lot of money not buying buses and bus stations for something that wasn't going to work. It will work in future. It wasn't implemented at that stage in the game. So yeah, leave a comment, let me know. The new Transport Fever 2 season will be starting extremely soon. I've got a few more little kinks to sort out. I am slightly worried because there is a Transport Fever 2 patch coming, and it does directly affect some of the mod scripts that I have installed and that I want to use in this new playthrough. So I am slightly worried, but I don't know when the patch is going to drop, and I can't sort of leave it forever because I have nothing else set up in the pipeline for the moment. I was going to keep running this until the patch dropped, but I actually don't want to go and fix all this. I'd rather just leave it there and then start afresh when the full game comes out. So that is going to be it for me. As always, if you did watch this and you'd like to leave a like, comment or dislike, please feel free to do so. And if there is more you would like to see in the future, then hit the subscribe button. But I've been Danny Boy, this has been Voxel Tycoon, and I will catch you later.